mankind lived, just like the animals. Then something happened, which unleashed the power of our imagination. We learned to talk.
We've got, is it Stage Man?
Yeah, Stage Man here.
How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. I've been watching your videos. I find you guys interesting, and I wanted to call in, make comments on a couple of topics that you guys had talked about. It appears that some of the conversation isn't taking into consideration certain topics such as physics or biology. I heard that you have a physicist there.
Yeah, he's sitting right here.
Fantastic. I don't know what your experience is as a physicist, or if you are, in fact, a graduate of your discipline, and if you're working in the field. But aside from that, God can be proven conclusively via physics and biology.
Okay.
That being that...
Define God and make your case.
Excuse me?
Define God and then make your case. Prove that God exists with physics and biology.
Oh, I am.
Well, you got to define God first.
No, I don't have to define God.
How are you going to say that physics and biology prove something that you haven't defined?
Well, because if you listen to the evidence, you'll see that there has to be a God.
No,
and the evidence is that
you're assuming some definition. You're assuming some definition of God in order to make that statement at all.
No, well, listen.
Yes, you have
and then
to
you make your own conclusion.
No, stop. If you say that physics proves that there has to be a God, you have some working definition of God in order to make that claim at all. And I want to know what it is.
God is the being that is outside of time and space that created time and space. You as a physicist know that time is quantitative. It has already been conclusively proven that time is quantitative in physics. So if time is quantitative, it has a beginning, it has an end. That being the case, God is outside of time and space. He inhabits eternity, something that man cannot comprehend.
If we can't comprehend it, how can you make the assertion?
The biological evidence...
If we can't comprehend it, how can you make the assertion?
Well, the biological evidence is that to have life, you have to have a nucleotides and amino acids to make up proteins. The direct enemy, or what destroys amino acids and nucleotides, is oxygen. Now, some people say that we formed in the ocean. We evolved out of the ocean. Well, that couldn't be because nucleotides and amino acids have to synergize in the same amounts exactly at the same time. Their enemy, oxygen. The ocean is water. What's water made up of?
I'll say hydrogen and oxygen. Do I win?
Oh, you win. Now, some people have even argued to me about
However, water isn't oxygen. There are lots of things that contain...
the molecules. You've got to have the molecules of oxygen.
So
is a molecule.
every molecule that includes oxygen is the enemy of nucleotide.
If oxygen is present...
Now, if oxygen is present on its own... Now, granted, I'm not a scientist or a biologist, and I don't know whether any of this is accurate, and I don't know if my objections are valid or not, but...
You're absolutely right. If oxygen is present...
In any
amino
form?
acids and nucleotides cannot synergize in the quantitative amount to synergize proteins.
How does this prove that a God exists?
Because, well, let's look at it logically.
I am.
If we couldn't have evolved in the ocean because of oxygen, and that means oxygen couldn't have existed for amino acids and nucleotides to synergize.
Okay, so
if oxygen didn't exist, life couldn't exist.
No. You're completely and totally and utterly ignorantly wrong.
How could oxygen not exist?
Oh, shut up. You're talking about abiogenesis, which is a theoretical field, which we don't necessarily know how life in fact did form. But we do know that life can in fact form. The Miller experiments demonstrated that under some atmospheric conditions, which do not match Earth. It doesn't matter that it doesn't match Earth, that it was wrong. Under some atmospheric conditions, life can spontaneously be created from non-life through purely natural means. That has been demonstrated. It doesn't matter that we don't know exactly how it did happen on Earth. The fact that it's possible is all we need to know.
Yeah. The other thing is, well, the other point I'd like to make is that the idea that amino acids couldn't form on the Earth is completely wrong, because at the time the amino acids are supposed to have formed,
right,
something like 3.5 billion years ago, something like that.
By the way, if we can put up a link to Talk Origins, where these questions are actually addressed by people who know what the hell they're talking about.
Yes, because this one's actually addressed. Okay, actually, oxygen didn't exist on the Earth at that time in the same concentration that it does now, because plants hadn't evolved yet.
Yeah.
So that's what gave us the oxygen. Of course, plants evolved first, and then animal life came later.
But the big point is that,
I should say,
and I'll just go ahead
bacteria.
and pretend like he stayed on the line to defend himself. Whatever argument he ended up making is one big argument from ignorance. Life couldn't have possibly formed this way, therefore God did it. No, the only thing you've demonstrated, even if you were correct, and you're not, even if you were correct, the only thing you demonstrated was that life couldn't form in that specific way that you've eliminated. You haven't eliminated all possibilities. You've just said, I can't think of any other way it could have been done, therefore God did it. I can't think of any way this could have happened, therefore some being existing outside of space and time must have done it by magic. Sorry, it doesn't work that way. If you want to talk about possibilities and which things are possible and which ones are not, that's fine. I'd like us to move more towards probabilities, but saying that physics and biology conclusively prove that a transcendent, out-of-time, intelligent being exists is absurd and demonstrates some of the most pitiful logical reasoning that I've ever heard. If it were true, you wouldn't be calling in to a public access television program to tell me that physics proves God. No, it doesn't. If that was the case, everybody'd know about it. There would be scientific journals, peer-reviewed, demonstrating that physics proves God. The one specific God that you defined after being forced to. It's not the case. I realize you want it to be the case. I realize you can't think of anything better. I realize that you've spun yourself around with this potential paradox, and the only solution you can come up with is Magic Man, but that don't make it so. Sorry.
The God of the Old Testament is arguably the most unpleasant character in all fiction. Jealous and proud of it. A petty, unjust, unforgiving control freak. A vindictive, bloodthirsty ethnic cleanser. A misogynistic, homophobic, racist, infanticidal, genocidal, filicidal, pestilential, megalomaniacal, sadomasochistic, capriciously malevolent bully.